7 o'clock on the nose. So welcome to the District 2 Community Engagement Meeting. Thank you guys for attending, and thank you for our special guests that come in. If you have questions, we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff tonight. If you've got questions, there is a chat button on there that you can chat, and a Q&A that you can send me a message. If you are calling in on the telephone line, you can send me an email at nmonferdini@tuckerga.gov, and it's nmonferdini@tuckerga.gov. And when we take a break in between the Q&As, I will grab those, and I'm going to turn it over to Matt.
Hi. This is the third meeting we've had in the last 7 months. The first meeting we had we went at the Lawrenceville United Methodist Church. The second one, we came back to Rehoboth, and Noel was under the weather at the time. So we've gone church-wise, and now we've gone to the Zoom land. And this is a first for all of us, so we're kind of excited that we've had a lot of things that happened during this year, including the adoption of our 21 budget. And we are in year number 5 of our existence. And it's just hard to believe, because when we started, we had to borrow some money from the mayor so that we could buy some pens and have a phone and have a bank account, etc. Our budget for this year is $23.6 million. And based on, taking the best information we have, looking at the possible impact and the actual impact of the coronavirus and other things. So it's hard to believe we're only in year 5. We really want to thank everybody for being with us through that time, and we really look forward to seeing the challenges of what's going to happen this new year. Noel and I ended up last week ending up the fiscal year. We have a new fiscal year, so we're in day 7 of the new fiscal year. And we went to a virtual training on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And I hope to goodness and hope to Joseph that this thing works better than my trying to get on the Zoom for the first 2 days. But thanks to Noel, I was able to peek over her shoulder and listen to some of the training sessions. So we really look forward to that. It is our honor to be able to honor someone who has done a great service to the state and to the county and to the city of Tucker. I wanted Steve Henson to be with us because he's going to be moving away from state politics after 17 years of representing us in the Gold Dome. He has been a friend of Tucker's immensely, and we really want to appreciate that. Now, the interesting thing is on July the 10th of 19, he announced that he wasn't going to run. So maybe if we do him very well here at this meeting, a year later, he may reconsider. Steve has been on a lot of boards within the state: ethics, health and human services, reapportionment, regulated industries, rules committee, urban affairs, state institutions and properties, administrative affairs, natural resources and environment, and government oversight. So there's a lot of things that he has been able to garner over this period of time, and it has been very beneficial to us. So I wanted to ask Steve to be with us, to honor him, and to ask him to give us some of his insights on the 17 years and what's going to happen down the road in his young life. Thank you. Steve?
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it. Just a little correction. I was actually elected in 1990 and served for 8 years, and then left after a statewide race and came back for another, this will be 18 years back. So 26 out of the last 30. So anyway, it's an honor to be here, honor to serve the community, and I thank you very much for the opportunity to say thank you to anybody here on the program. But I've got another 6 months to serve, so if you're one of the dozens and dozens of constituents that are having trouble getting help from state agencies, primarily the Department of Labor. We have a credible amount of people who have had, through the pandemic, issues with unemployment benefits that we're trying to help, and they're having a real tough time because that department is overloaded. But I appreciate it. Now, main reason I think Matt brought me here was kind of give you an update on the session. And, you know, we had kind of unusual situation. We had a first part of the session that ended March 15th. Then we had a 11-day finish to it a couple months later that just ended a week or two ago. And, you know, the first part, one of the major things we passed was something the Municipal Association supported, was a way to collect money from these online sales called a Marketplace Facilitator Bill. So we did pass that prior to our break. Hopefully that'll bring in about $300 million in revenue. I want people out there to realize that over the last, really entire 30 years I've been there, Zell, you know, cut the sales tax off food, and Roy, you know, cut the inheritance tax and some others. And we cut sales tax on retirement income up to $130,000, no income tax up to $130,000 for a couple of two, and all kinds of different tax cuts. Corporate taxes used to make up 20% of our state taxes. Now it's about 4 or 5%. So tremendous tax cuts over the years. So we went into the session already with state employees that aren't paid what they were paid 20 years ago. We haven't adjusted them for inflation from the Great Recession, and really a strained budget, trying to give teachers a pay raise. And that's one reason we passed this Marketplace Facilitator bill before we broke. But then the pandemic hit. And if we thought we had a tight budget before, where we were shortchanging our county governments, what we used to give them, and shortchanging even worse our local school systems, the pandemic hit. So when we went back these last 11 days, the primary focus was going to be, and really was, the budget. Now, I did get somewhat overshadowed by the hate crimes debate, at least in the press to a certain degree. And I appreciated the city of Tucker taking a stand and passing a resolution urging us to get a bill. And I was very grateful to be part of the negotiations where we got a hate crimes bill, and actually improved it in the Senate that increased data collection. So now you can be charged with a crime, have a added on sentence for up to 2 years for if it's motivated by hate or any of the enumerated groups, race, religion, disabilities, etc., LGBT. You know, you get 2 years additional sentence, or also, but most importantly, the Senate, we added 2, data collection, so we keep a record and know more about what's going on in our state. You know, we did a lot of other good work, like the budget. We finally passed the budget with a $2.5 billion cut. You know, the relationships down at the Capitol are more frayed really than ever. It was one of the first times that we locked down in a vote against the budget first go around. Later, we were able to make some adjustments, and you know, it passed with 40 votes, but that's still kind of a tight vote for a budget in the Senate. There were 56 no votes in the House. That's a lot, because there's a lot of people just not liking some of the policies that we've got, that we didn't go back and look at some of the groups that aren't being negatively impacted by the pandemic to maybe take back some of those tax breaks we've given them in the past to help pay for education and other things. So that's a debate that's going to continue. Some of the other things I just want to quickly mention that we did besides the hate crimes bill and the budget is you'll see a constitutional amendment this year. One we passed last year, which will make it, when we dedicate fees like to the Hazardous Waste Trust Fund for tire collection stuff, that the fees will actually go where they're supposed to be. So that's going to be in the ballot in November. Then another ballot initiative in November will be for sovereign immunity. Right now, the state can't be, if it's doing something wrong or your city's doing something against the law, state law, you can't stop them. They have sovereign immunity. You can't sue them and stop them. Up until 2015, you could, but a Supreme Court case in 2015 said you really couldn't sue them. Now, this will only lower sovereign immunity at times when government is breaking the law or acting really outside the bounds that's supposed to be prescribed in state law or state constitution. It won't allow you to sue the state government or the city government. There'll still be immunity for acts like a truck running into you. Now, in some cases, those are waived by owner having insurance and other things, but they still have that same standard of sovereign immunity. We passed a bill that allows liquor or beer or wine to be distributed to your house, brought to your house. We passed a bill that took away some breaks that they had on coal ash dumping so that hopefully we won't become a regional place where people come and dump coal ash. We set in some minimum standing for elder care facilities as far as staffing requirements and having to disclose certain information like infections and that sort of thing. We passed a bill about negligence and change the standard on COVID related issues it's got a sunset about 2 years from now, but it changes the standard. You can sue somebody if you get COVID in their business from a negligence standard to a gross negligence standard. I had some concerns about that, but businesses and this are very concerned. So those are some of the major things. We also passed the tax. We were supposed to be collecting sales tax on like Uber and Lyft drivers. That wasn't really being done as comprehensively as supposed to. So we worked out a deal where there would be like a 50 cents charge per ride, and the state will collect money, and that will help some of the damage. But we're in for a tough road the next few years with the budget. The rebound, we saw last month maybe swamped by the rise in illnesses and sickness, and so we don't know exactly what's coming down the road. But the state budget and state economy is certainly, like the rest of the country, something that we need to watch and have concerns over. And of course, that puts more pressure on our county commissions and school boards, who are also suffering the same kind of challenges.
Steve,
Matt, I don't know how long you want me to go.
Steve, the budget was passed with no furloughs, or are there going to be furloughs for state employees?
Yeah, there was no furloughs expressly put into the budget. Some agencies may later do some furloughs. It's not prohibited, but they tried to work out the budget where they didn't fill any positions where there were vacancies. We already have 5,000 less state employees than we had 8 years ago. So, operations are already tight, but we're trying to make it work without furloughs, but some state agencies may later have to come do some furloughs. But right now we're trying to make it work with no furloughs.
And what will you be doing besides watching nicely from your porch?
Well, I'll stay involved. I'll stay active in local government. I got elected the day after the session. I got elected to serve as a member of the Democratic National Committee in the politics arena to stay involved. I'll be coming your meetings, Matt, and keep an eye on my city council members and trying to stay involved. And, Steve Bradshaw said that he, won't change all his numbers immediately anyway. If I have some problems, I'm sure Commissioner Johnson will let me give her a call if I need to. So, I plan to just try to be a help and be supportive of our government and our great elected officials and the great community that I live in. I grew up, off Midvale Road and what is now part of Tucker, and been here most of my life. So I want to see us get stronger and better and prosper. And it's just kind of sad to see the pandemic and other challenges we face right now.
Steve, thank you so much. Public service, needless to say, is so important, and effective public service is even better. So we look forward to having you with us. You led into a nice opening with the county commissioners.
Yeah, and they might want to bring up the ethics bill. We did finally pass the ethics bill, so it'll be on the ballot too.
Okay.
Okay, there was actually a question before we move on, Matt.
Okay.
It says, can you speak more to the role of the new ethics administrator position? What role will they play in ethics investigation?
Well, the ethics investigation still, I think actually has to go to the board. So, they'll be processing and be working under the direction of the board. So they'll get the thing, turn it over to the board for looking at what cases need to be investigated and helping, assisting.
Thank you. And then they said, also thank you for your years of service.
Thanks.
And we look forward to seeing you at the annex or City Hall or wherever else on the street. And moving on, one of the big, and the reason I mentioned on the street, one of the big supporters of Tucker has always been Steve Bradshaw when he was running and now as the county commission chair. And we really appreciate that. There's been a lot of activity on the part of the nation, national government relative to Corona, and we were going to ask Steve and then Lorraine as well to talk a little bit about this. So Steve, thank you for being with us, and tell us more about the CARES Act, if you would, please.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. As stated, my name is Steve Bradshaw. I have the honor of representing all of you on the DeKalb County Board of Commissioners as the District 4 Commissioner. I also serve as presiding officer of the board for this year. So by that reckoning, I represent all of DeKalb County. Always, it's an honor to be here with my great colleague, Commissioner Lorraine Cochran-Johnson. We have so far had a full and eventful day, and this is a nice way to cap it off. So thank you so much. It is an honor to be here. And I want to thank Council members Monfredini and Robbins for the invitation. I really appreciate the communication and the partnership we have. I enjoy the city of Tucker. I should probably not admit this in this setting, but I like the local 7. They have one of my favorite beers on tap. So I'll be there again before week's end. And I want to commend the council members for their great service to the city of Tucker. Also, I'd be really remiss if I didn't seize this opportunity here in public to acknowledge my friend, Steve Henson. I can still call him Senator Steve Henson, for his many years of service to this community in this state. So I've known Steve for well over 20 years. I've known him to be a dedicated, conscientious public servant who's been fighting for us down at the General Assembly for a long time. And I know sometimes it's been unpleasant, given the political dynamic, but he's always fought the good fight. And aside from being a great public servant, Steve is just a good guy. It's good to know a good guy, and it's good to know that there are good guys and good ladies in public service. So Steve, your presence will be missed, and I hope you enjoy your retirement. And I won't block your number immediately, but we'll see how things flow over the next few months. So I've been asked and tasked with the responsibility of sharing a little bit about the CARES Act. So I'll try to keep this brief and just give you the highlights. So we'll start with the basics. So the CARES Act, the initials stand for Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act. So this was passed by both houses of the Congress earlier this spring and signed into law by the President of the United States. DeKalb County's allocation out of those resources is roughly $125 million. And since the time we've deposited that money, we've been working through allocating it in a prudent and judicious manner. So first I want to talk about some of the things we've already approved to allocate. One is we've allocated $600,000 to address the issue of food insecurity here in DeKalb County. And that is in partnership with the Atlanta Community Food Bank. Now, I want to say just a couple quick things about that. So that need exists. That need exists here in DeKalb County. So I participated in 3 food giveaway events in the last few weeks, and I can tell you it is quite a sight to see cars lined up as far as the eye can see. People have been waiting in line for literally hours for the opportunity to drive through and get a basket of food for their families. That need is acute. That need exists. And every time I've done that, I've walked away just grateful for the circumstances of my life. And I'm grateful that our government has chosen to make the mitigation of food insecurity in DeKalb County a priority. One other thing we've already allocated money to is roughly $2.7 million to address mental health issues. So the point of contact for that and that allocation is to the Community Service Board. And this pandemic has affected a lot of people in a lot of different ways. So I think that's a very wise and prudent allocation of resources. Then there's some items that are pending. One thing that's pending is a $1 million allocation to nonprofit organizations engaged in support to individuals, things like rent relief. The point of contact for that in the administration is Dolores Kroll. Hopefully that'll come to us for a vote next Tuesday, and that'll just be hopefully the beginning of an allocation on that front. And then there are 2 what I'll label as big ticket items for allocations. The first one is a direct allocation to the cities. So CEO Thurman presented a proposal this morning that would allocate $32.6 million of the CARES funds to be split between the 12 cities in DeKalb County based on population. Tucker's proposed portion would be a little over $4.1 million. Now this will go through our normal course process, meaning it will be heard in a committee. Hopefully it'll get passed out of committee. The earliest that the full Board of Commissioners would deal with this item would be July 14th. I can state publicly and categorically that I'm supportive of this allocation. My understanding is a good meeting of the minds occurred between the county administration and the mayors, and they feel this is an equitable allocation, a fair allocation. So I intend to be supportive of it when it comes up for a vote. And the second big ticket item is support for DeKalb County businesses. So over the last few weeks, I've had the honor and opportunity to chair a subcommittee of the COVID-19 task force to take a deeper look at how we might be of assistance to our businesses. And Commissioner Cochran-Johnson was also on that committee. Now, what emerged out of that process was 6 basic recommendations, the largest of which is the establishment of a small business loan fund that small businesses throughout DeKalb County can access. Now, our committee made a recommendation of an allocation of $30 million. Now, I've since been informed that in light of the direct allocation to the cities, that amount will probably be curtailed by some degree, the details of which are pending. I will be meeting with the CEO and his staff in the next few days to work out precisely where that number is going to end up being. But we went through a process where we heard from a lot of businesses and a lot of sectors in DeKalb County. So these recommendations were born out of that exercise. Some other recommendations that came out of that exercise was the establishment of a stockpile of PPE that businesses can access with a price tag of about $2.5 million. Also the commencement of an education and marketing campaign to promote and underscore and get people to shop DeKalb, buy DeKalb, stay local, with a price tag of about $500,000. We also recommend allowing businesses to innovate without too much constraint or interference. Things as simple as allowing businesses to spread out their dining for restaurants, for example, into parking lots and create a little more seating outside. Also, another recommendation was to defer some of the fees for business licensing. And then the last recommendation was to identify one entity to serve as a kind of a one-stop shop as a resource for a DeKalb County business. And we recommended that be the DeKalb Chamber of Commerce, with an allocation to underscore and build out their capacity on this front of about $300,000. So all of these items are pending. I think logically these would follow in the wake of the establishment of the Small Business Loan Fund. So hopefully we'll be able to wrap that up here within the next week or two. And just some ending comments on this. So I know when he originally offered some proposals, the CEO's intent was to hold some portion of that CARES Act funding in reserve in anticipation of the second wave of COVID-19. I thought then, I think now that that's a wise course of action. We don't know how this is going to go. We don't know if the federal government will allocate more money somewhere down the road. So all we know is what we have now. So I think it's prudent to hold some in reserve as we see how this thing plays out. So those are the basics of the CARES Act. I'll again thank both Noel and Matt for affording me this opportunity and for you all for listening. And one more thing, if anybody ever needs anything, they're welcome to call my office, 404-371-4749, or shoot me an email, srbradshaw@DeKalbCountyGA.gov. I'll be happy to hear from you. So with that, I thank you so much. And
Thank you, Steve.
I will yield back.
Thank
Noel, any questions?
There are two questions. One that, let's see, well, actually there's three. One is kind of relevant and the other one may be answered later. So this one says, we can answer this generally. It says, since the governor has not chosen to make masks mandatory, any chance that it could be a mandate in DeKalb? And correct me if I'm wrong, senators and commissioners, he said when he put in his executive order, the very first one, no more or no less, which ties our hands as municipalities and as counties to do anything more or less. So we really have to wait until he changes that.
Yeah, well, but we do have an agenda item working its way through a committee to about mask in DeKalb County. We'll see that how that falls out. But Councilwoman Nomfredini is right. I mean, once the governor, sees control of this situation from an operational standpoint, we really can't, exceed his directives.
The Savannah government the mayor did issue an executive order requiring masks, and the last governor's order didn't directly address it. So at this time, he has not he could prevent Savannah from doing it, but he hadn't. So you might want to Google Savannah mask ordinance.
And that is correct. And thank you, Steve, for that. You're right. I grew up in Savannah, so I know of what you speak. And like I said, we've got an ordinance along those lines, kind of crafted on the Savannah model, working its way through our committee process. So we'll see how that falls out.
One thing you have to be careful of too is, like, Savannah was having an outbreak right there. He may react if everybody does it, so DeKalb and other communities have to be careful what they do too, because they don't want to overreach or impose too much on people, or the governor may react to that. So you got to watch that too.
Understood.
And then one more question that says, thanks for the loan fund. Can you talk more about the role of the chamber in that?
Yeah, so that's the whole idea is to build out the chamber's capacity. I think, and we kind of collectively thought that having a vibrant, functioning, operating chamber is a good thing. Also, that having one resource, primarily one resource, is a good thing. There's a lot of information out there floating around from a lot of sources, and it was our considered judgment that if we built out the chamber's capacity and businesses had one place where they could go to, it would make their lives easier rather than having to individually search around multiple sites and locations for basic information on how to operate and getting mentoring and resources. So we felt like building out the chamber's capacity made sense.
All right, well, thank you very much, Steve.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure. Thank you all.
And we're going to continue on the focus on protection and the impact of COVID by asking Lorraine Cochran-Johnson, Commissioner in DeKalb County, who has been a whirling dervish this whole time since she's been on board. We've really appreciated her energies and her insights in working with Tucker and working for the county. So Lorraine, can you share with us on resources available to deal with the virus?
Absolutely. I love the analogy of a whirling dervish. That's a first. So that's an interesting analogy. But first, let me thank you, Matt, as well as Noella, council members for Tucker. And I must also say as well, Steve, or shall I say, Senator Henson. I haven't had the opportunity to work with you as closely. So after 20 years, if I guess Steve has worn thin, then you can feel free to reach out to me anytime. We can just get started. So I appreciate the opportunity to address everyone and talk about some of the COVID-19 resources that are available within DeKalb County to our citizens. The first slide you see here, I like visuals. Goes into our programs for our seniors. During this time, there are a lot of people that are extremely vulnerable. Initially, what you see here is our meal distribution. And on average, during this time, we are actively delivering over 2,000 meals on a weekly basis to seniors and individuals that are in need of food services. So what you see here is a sort of a breakout of who those families are and what it actually looks like. And the second slide carries over a little bit more, because also when it comes to our senior population, we have to often provide on-site wellness checks because they are limited in their ability to be mobile. And also to keep them active, because depression is very real. During this time when many seniors are forced to shelter in place extensively and they don't have the interaction, or they may not have other individuals who are around them. We also have 50 different online courses right now that are being offered through the Lou Walker Senior Center for Active Engagement. The next thing you see here talks a little bit about our senior mobility program, because it provides essential transportation for seniors. Whether that is to doctor's appointments, or if they need to get out, whether that's for meal services or standard grocery shopping, whatever their needs may be, we do operate in a fully functional mobility service to meet their needs. The next slide that we have talks a little bit about our youth programs. And I'm very proud of what we've done this summer. We actually have in full-time, well, I won't say full-time, but we have over 700 students that are participating in our summer youth experience. And generally we place these students with different businesses throughout DeKalb County, but this year we are operating all of our youth programs virtually. So it's across virtual platforms, and it gave them the opportunity to have part-time jobs throughout the summer, gain experience, and we're teaching them everything from college preparedness to social skills. They also engage in or interact with people from a variety of professions, as well as college and university training and post-secondary education knowledge. So our youth programs are available, and there's a ton of different information that you can find there. And you can also move to the next slide. I'd also like to say that we have an entire division that provides technology, because the digital divide is real. And in many households, due to a lack of high-speed internet, it can be a challenge. So we always want to make sure that we are providing those resources. The next thing you have here is our Human Services Grant Program. And this is eligible to nonprofit organizations. And you can literally receive grants that range from $10,000 to $20,000. And I believe we are still in the middle until July 15th of the last grant cycle for nonprofit organizations that wish to participate. So you still have time. And of course, I do give here the email address so you can visit. Or if, you know, of course, at the end of the presentation, I will also provide you with my personal information. And I will post this on our website so that you can go there and have additional access. The next slide actually gives you direct contact information for our Human Services Department. So you can feel free to reach out to them direct. Mr. Damon Scott, he's in charge of both Human Services as well as Youth Services. So this is the basic contact information for that office if you should find that you have a need at this time. Now, one of the things that we didn't talk about is mental health. And that is something that's very important to us right now, particularly as we experience COVID. We are actively housing the homeless. I, of course, receive calls pretty much on a weekly basis from individuals who may have seen a camp. So if you find that there is a group of homeless individuals, if you will let us know, we go out. Oftentimes, you know, the challenge that you face there is that there may be a secondary substance issue or a mental health issue because we provide a variety of different services, but, you know, sometimes it can be very slippery to get individuals to receive services, particularly when there's secondary conditions. But as we battle COVID and attempt to flatten the curve, we have housed, to my knowledge at this point, well over 360 homeless individuals. So we do provide those services as well, and I thought that was important. And we can move right along to the next slide because I do believe that we speak, well, we give you some of the facts in terms of the distance and 6 feet, wearing masks in public. You know, we constantly get the question, why aren't we or haven't we mandated masks? But I think Senator Hinson as well as Commissioner Bradshaw summed it up. Literally, as a municipality, we can create no legislation that is in direct conflict with what has been deemed on the state level. So although we may encourage, and we do have legislation that is pending, that will require masks within all of our county buildings, it becomes hard to legislate or enforce the wearing of masks in public beyond what the governor has already instituted. Anything that is in direct conflict, as Senator Hinson has said, could pose a challenge. So just know that, you know, we are actively doing everything we can to encourage compliance. And with the numbers beginning to rise drastically, I think, you know, there's been, we face not only a global pandemic, but unprecedented social unrest at the same time. So just helping people understand that we have a long way to go. And at this point, we're not in a good position at all is very important. And let's see what we have here on our next slide. This is very important, but I'm going to give you all the direct phone number. Now, you can visit DeKalbHealth.net/COVID-19, and it will allow you to register online to be tested free of charge. Or you can pick up the phone and you can dial 404-294-3700. That's 404-294-3700. And you can set an appointment to visit one of our COVID-19 testing centers that are located throughout DeKalb County. So make sure you copy these numbers, but feel free to reach out to us if you, if you find you need it. Or you can go to our county website, which is DeKalbCountyGA.gov. And as soon as you visit the website, you'll see the COVID-19 bar. And if you click it, all of these resources are listed there for you as well. The next slide that we have talks a little bit about how to limit exposure to order your groceries online, because many stores are offering services for drop off right now, as well as pickup, so that it limits interaction and contact. So we do give you a list of stores here that we know that actively participate in that program, as well as restaurants that are doing door-to-door delivery. And I thought it was very interesting, Henson, that we are now delivering alcohol, that came out of session. But of course, you know, the delivery aspect now has become very important. We also show on our next slide pharmacy deliveries, because many people don't have the luxury of transportation. So both CVS as well as Walgreens will deliver to those who are vulnerable or who may need to strictly shelter in place during this time. So there is no loss potentially of your inability to connect with your medications. This is a list of our food pantries and resources. Now, all you have to do if you are in need of food resources is text Find Food or COMIDA to 888-976-2232, and you will receive a list of resources. Also, here we have our food bank local map, as well as food stamps and food assistance benefit programs. And personally in District 7, I have 3 different organizations that will deliver groceries to your front door. We also have at New Birth Church, each Saturday, there is food distribution from 10 to 2 p.m. And this list just goes on and on. New Bethel AME Church, St. Vincent de Paul Society, the Giving Kitchen, Toco Hills Community Alliance, Rehoboth Church, as well as networks, are all participating. Now, housing assistance, we didn't really go into the lifting of evictions because July 15th, as of that time, active evictions will begin. So I do receive a lot of those calls from individuals who have not been able to meet their current rental payments, but there is federal housing assistance available. And of course, I've included the number here, and also banks offering to help customers during this time as well. So most all agencies, as well as major corporations, do have some type of program during this time for individuals that have financial challenges. So it's just a matter of reaching out and having the conversation, because we don't want to see anyone in an adverse position. Also, as it relates to the rental assistance, as Commissioner Bradshaw indicated, that $1 million, we have received a very robust list of nonprofits who will be handling the dissemination of those monies. And it can not only can it be used for rent, but also for utilities as well. So once those funds are available, I know, of course, I will have it in my newsletter, and I'm sure it will go on the COVID-19 resource website that can be found on the county. Also for utility assistance, you can reach out to Atlanta Gas Light. There's also the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program. We also have credit counseling at ClearPoint and senior discounts for 65 plus with an annual income that is $25,520 or less. They offer $14 off their base monthly charge. So definitely reach out to those entities. Virtual fitness courses. You can always join Silver Sneakers if you want to get in your cardio and be active during this time in the comfort of your own home. So feel free to visit that website as well, so you can join. And that pretty much gives a quick and dirty of many of the resources that are available right now through the county. And I'm more than happy if there's any questions to entertain those at this time.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. There are a few questions, and I'm going to put the 3 panelists on the hook for some of them. So Steve Henson, if you're still on there, and Steve Bradshaw. The first one is minority. This is kind of all over the place a little bit. Minority and women-owned businesses have been disproportionately impacted and were largely excluded from the federal SB loans. How is DeKalb making sure that these businesses have access to the loans at the city level? Or I'm sorry, at the county level?
Okay, well, let me say that as it relates to, I'll kind of start this off. As it relates to whether you're talking PPL, IDL funds, the requirements for those are dictated by the federal government. So as a municipality or as a county, of course, we have no say in the allocation of those funds and how they're disseminated. I know individuals who were successful in receiving money. I know other individuals who were not. The $30 million that we have requested, although it has not been approved at this time, will be allocated for small business stabilization as well as expansion. And there has been discussion as to whether or not this will be a hybrid program. When I say hybrid, not per se a loan, but perhaps it is forgiven over time. So there could be a combination, because at the end of the day, to our advantage to have our community, our businesses within our communities not only survive, but also thrive. So what we have done there, and just today we were having that discussion, for businesses that have already received federal funds, then they would be precluded from participating on the county level in the dissemination of business funds that we have there. And that is an attempt to help us equal or level the playing field so that all individuals, regardless of race or color, will have the ability to have access to needed funds. Even beyond the COVID funds that we have that are available from the federal government, if you want to reach out to our office, there are a variety of other funds that are available. Of course, we have the small business loan program that is available to individuals that can be very quickly and easily be obtained. We also have money that is available through the CDBG loan fund. So I think sometimes, people don't understand because perhaps they are not aware of everything that we have. And these funds have always been in place. They were birthed from COVID. They were pre-COVID and they'll be post-COVID. So if you find that you have a need, of course, you can reach out to any of us. Well, you can certainly reach out to me, and I will certainly do my very best to connect you with an entity, including Decide DeKalb, who can walk you through the procurement of funding.
Okay, thank you. The next question, and I'm bouncing back and forth from the Q&A to the chat screen, just so you know, says, do you mind asking what number do we call if we see homeless people in the city for county to help them?
Okay. Miss Melvia Richards primarily focuses on the homeless, and she is out of the office of Damon Scott. So the 404-270-1178 number is where you should call. And again, that is 404-270-1178. And Melvia, that's Melvia Richards, heads up and spearheads the homeless initiative for DeKalb County proper.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next one is there a protocol in place if a business employee is COVID positive? What should be done, i.e. other employees to be mandatory tested, closed, etc.?
Well, first of all, you want to answer it, Lorraine, or you want me to?
I'll let you have this one.
Okay. Well, real quickly, first of all, you can contact your county board of health for direction. There are different types of employers, and employers require different things. But in all cases, you have to protect the HIPAA information for the employee, but you should inform other employees that a coworker has tested positive. You should have those workers quarantined that were in immediate or close proximity of the other employee. Those other employees should quarantine for 14 days. And it would be recommended, you cannot necessarily mandate a test, but it is recommended that other employees seek testing to check that they are positive or not. And then depending on whether or not you're different, somebody, a medical facility, certainly for long-term care facilities for seniors, they have more strict guidelines and it changes. So if you're a hair salon, there's certain extra precautions and information you have to provide the state. So contact your local board of county health for additional information. But A, you do have a responsibility to inform their other employees, and B, if possible, other employees that were in exact proximity should quarantine for 14 days, and you should recommend employees to seek testing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And then the next question, kind of in that same realm, is I requested a test on July 2nd. I received the testing date of July 13th. I take care of an elderly person. I am showing no symptoms. Are symptomatic persons given dates that are not so far in the future, or is it first come, first serve? I guess that's that for the count. I guess that's for the county testing sites.
To my knowledge, you know, I know that just last week, Dr. Elizabeth Ford indicated that we had tested over 1,000 people that week. When we initially opened up the testing sites, we were expecting, according to their estimate, 1,000 people per month. So we have been testing here in DeKalb County at an enormous rate. Perhaps the wait has to do with the influx of people that are currently seeking testing, because it's my understanding individuals are processed, you know, in the order that they come. I personally have neighbors and other individuals that I've directed, and they've been able to get in rather quickly within a day or two of literally making the test. So in all honesty, that's the longest wait I've heard, but I can only believe without actual empirical knowledge that that's because of the massive amount of testing that's being requested. And I do welcome my colleagues to give your thoughts on that wait.
I'm sorry, Lorraine, that's my current understanding, that it's a byproduct of volume.
Okay.
I think that's
And if you are positive, I mean, if you feel that you're symptomatic, you know, talk to your healthcare facility or your doctor, because usually if you are sick, you know, you're running a high fever, the doctor then will order you a test and you'll get it more immediate. But I know right before we went into special session, you know, they said call the DeKalb Board of Health and you could get it right away. They were doing a great job. They're still doing a great job. It's just everybody now wants to be tested for sound reasons.
Mm-hmm.
People were talking about, we have a testing site at Rehoboth Baptist, and initially it was just very slow and you would get in pretty quickly, and the lines are just phenomenal. So there's the need is there, and I think it's the first come, first serve type of thing.
And then I had one more question concerning the masks. Let's see. Savannah implemented emergency mask ordinance, and Athens is considering one. DeKalb had 1 in 1,000 residents test positive in just a 3-day period last week. This is an emergency. Why won't the county consider doing what's best for the residents rather than defending the governor, who can't tailor statewide recs or local challenges? Anyway, so I'll try to answer that one again. In the beginning, he put out a mandate that said no more, no less. Savannah apparently has kind of written their own legislation for that, and nothing's really stuck to them to tell them not to. And I believe that DeKalb County, so you guys said you're going to talk about it in the next couple of days, so I'll answer that one. There was another one, Steve, for fireworks. So fireworks is mandated by the state, and there's been some complaints about fireworks. Can you talk on that just for a minute?
Yeah, Richard Keeley asked that. Now, you know, I have to get him the details, but most of the state law was to preempt local governments from their ordinances. So the state statute that says the times, there might have been a little flux of an hour or so that the local governments had a choice of when to allow the fireworks, but I'm not even sure of that. It was pretty much preempted local government from setting much. So the state law pretty much rides on the fireworks. Now, you know, certainly this weekend I was, you know, I'd wait till late to let my dog out, and still at like 12:30 there were people shooting off fireworks. 2 days after the 4th. I mean, that's a violation of the code. So there were people breaking the law as it is, but I voted against it. My dog didn't like it, the fireworks law, but the cities and municipalities and the counties don't have a whole lot of leeway if they have any.
Lorraine, regarding your youth programs, just wanted to tell you that in Tucker, we've had a really active summer program. We're using 3 parks. We're using Kofor and Henderson and Fitzgerald, and we have various programs there. And in a 3-hour period, we have sports at Fitzgerald and educational classes and yoga at Kofor and nature at Henderson. So it's been really good, and we were really excited about being able to provide that. So thank you for your efforts on this. What we're going to do is move to some local stuff, and Steve and Lorraine, if you want to stick around, that's fine. But this is going to be coming at you, Steve, anyway, down the road. And we're going to turn it over to Noel to talk about something that the council has just dealt with as trying to maintain the ritual, the rubrics that if you're going to have an action being taken by the citizens, you need to meet various and sundry early requirements of posting and this and that and the other thing prior to a referendum. So that's the first thing we're going to talk about. And Commissioner Bradshaw and Commissioner Cochran, Johnson, and Senator Henson, thank you so much for being with us, and thank you for your service. And we look forward to seeing you on Main Street when Main Street gets a little more active.
Yeah, and when we get some numbers back on what the community wants to do, especially on the public works project that we're talking about coming up, we're going to sit down with everybody in the same room and figure out what's best for everyone. But first, we want to make sure that the community wants it and has action to move forward. We had a question that came up that said, "Do you guys know about it?" And I alluded you to that earlier today. So, and then I graciously said we would excuse you for the rest of the program since you don't really know what the community wants, and we don't want to ask you a bunch of questions of how that would how that would interfere with your daily lives if we were to take that over, even if we know if we're going to do it or if we're not going to do it. So we need to figure that out first and ask the community, because we're their local representatives. How do you want us to move? And that's what we're going to do at the end of this program. We're going to talk about projects. So we thank you very much for your time today, and thank you for being awesome and warriors of DeKalb County and doing great things. And thank you, Senator Henson, for all that you've done for your time period up at the House. So with that, we'll say goodbye to you, and we'll move on to the City of Tucker projects. If everyone's still with me and I don't see any other questions, we're good. Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful afternoon. So the upcoming city projects that we have, actually I was gonna have Matt go through this, but if he wants me to take it, I will. Right now we're under a concept study to rebuild a fellowship La Vista Chambly Tucker. And it's just a concept study. So we have to have a study done before we can put any money towards it. Traffic signal improvements at Lawrenceville Highway and Lindburn. That's right across from the Kofor Crossing Shopping Center. This one's a little scary because people are having a hard time crossing the road. Get from where the Starbucks is all the way over to there. So we're going to be looking at that. Matt, did you want to take the rest of this, or you want me to keep going?
No, I got it. We're looking at one of the things we did when SPLOST was approved, thanks to all you voters, was immediately create a study on the condition of the streets in Tucker, all of them. And we had this thing called the PCI, Pavement Condition Index, etc. And we started with the worst, and then took some, added also some, the busiest with Mountain Industrial. And so we were out of the chute pretty early 2 years ago, and we continue to be that. We've spent $3.6 million in resurfacing a number of cities throughout the number of streets throughout the city. So that's kind of neat. All of you have heard, that the mayor was one time talking about the mascot of Tucker is the orange barrel, because we have them all over the place. we have $1 million we're spending for sidewalk installation. We, if you've seen on First Avenue going from Fellowship all the way over to Lawrenceville Highway, they're working on that. We also have, thanks to DeKalb County, a project that basically should have been done a number of years ago, and sidewalks along Henderson Road, and then also a portion of it on Hugh Howe, right before the light at Cowan. And so that's really exciting as well. Then that'll increase a lot of activity on the part of everybody. We have traffic studies to look at how we can move things better on Lawrenceville Highway. GDOT is looking and has worked on plans for resurfacing, because that's Lawrenceville Highway is theirs. Other projects, we're looking at streetscape project. We're looking at streetlights and landscapes and improving, improvements on 285 and the Lawrenceville Highway. We're going to be hearing a lot, and this is going to be activities talking about the upper perimeter, the upper Highway 285, and basically a speed transit system between Tucker and Smyrna. So that'll be kind of interesting on walking on that, but that's going to be a longer period of time. Engineering study at Hugh Howe and Stone Mountain Industrial, safety improvements, that's key all the way around. And then one of the things we were talking about, we created a master plan for trails, we created a master plan for transportation, we created a master plan for parks, we created a master plan for downtown. And one of the things we wanted to do is create a model trail project in downtown Tucker, and that'll be wrapping around down Main, down Railroad, and determining what's going to happen there. Now, all of this is basically, transit oriented, but there's a lot of things we've done with parks. We're going to close up some things on Henderson Park, the restrooms for the tennis courts. We're going to multiple park trail upgrades at Henderson and Kofor and Smoke Rise. We've been working on, but the crew ended up getting the virus, at a parking lot at John's Homestead, pavilions at John's Homestead and Smoke Rise, and the Smoke Rise pool. Peters Park, renovation there, big time, park signage. And then in 21, we're going to again do some activities on seeking community input for Montreal Park renovations, dog parks, new park signage, additional park security cameras. Those security cameras have helped significantly, working with Georgia Power as well. And then addition to our playgrounds, as you know, we initially had the playgrounds open, we closed them for safety's sake, and then we opened them up as well, with working on the Parks and Recreation staff has been phenomenal. So there's a lot of things that we got going in Tucker. The road surfacing is in District 2, as you can see. We got Chisholm and Terry Lynn and Marvin Lee and Bar Circle and Frank's Court and Foxglove Road and Roman Court, Bridle Path, Century Drive and Frank's Drive, and then GDOT doing some highway, Lawrenceville Highway. So there's a lot of activity going on, and will continue to go on. So I guess two things: be patient with us, and then secondly, continue to give us guidance. We got, as I mentioned, the first thing when we did the study for the pavement conditions, we really directed it for the worst scores. The scores overall for the city were pretty pathetic, and now we've really improved that, but there's still a lot of activity needing to be done. And we get a lot of calls. What about this pothole? What about this? What about that? And as you know, we're working with DeKalb County to address potholes and roads, and that moves on to this next topic that we're going to need a lot of insight from you on. Where do we go relative to our roads and public works? And I'm going to turn it over to Noel.
Sorry, I've been multitasking over here, madly multitasking. We have Representative Michelle Henson on our Zoom call today. Just so everybody knows, I cannot see who's on because we have the Q&A up, so it makes it really difficult for me to see if you're in the house. So if you are in the house and you are a elected official, please let me know. I would like to bring Michelle Henson on just real quick to say hello, and then I'm going to answer all of these Q&A questions that I have because there's quite a few of them. Michelle, are you with us? I think we have her muted.
I got unmuted. Okay. Do you want me to do the video? Or is this okay?
This is wonderful. Thank you so much for your service this year. And I hear that you are on the ballot this time around. Is this your time around for
I am
re-election?
on August 11th, and we're having a primary runoff, and I'm in it. And I just would love to encourage everyone to request an absentee ballot. And if you aren't able to do that, then to vote early. I don't want to see any repeats of what happened during the primary election. I know that elections is working hard to try to correct a lot of that. But I still feel that given COVID-19, that it'd be so much safer to just do absentee voting or the early voting. And I'm also have a request in to Board of Education, I believe some of the other members of the DeKalb delegation, asking that we open more early voting precincts, and one of them would be in Tucker. Because right now, the only one on the north side is in Dunwoody.
Could you share the absentee sign up in the chat box? I think everybody can read the chat to just make sure it's to all panelists, and that way everybody has that information.
I will be glad to. In fact, I was just looking it up just to confirm it right this moment. So I will be glad to do that. Just want to say thank you. Thanks for bringing all this information to everyone. It's a pleasure working with all of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
I'm going to move over to some of the questions I have. Let me see if I can get back here. It says, we really need a traffic study for Idlewood Road. I believe during our traffic master plan, that is a level 2, and I'm going off of memory, so I think that's supposed to happen within the next 2 years. Is that what you remember, Matt?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I think the same thing.
Answer that one. Hold on, I have to answer these as I go along. There's a lot, so I don't want to get lost. Is the Arby's restaurant still being built at the corner of Lynburn and Lawrenceville Highway? Good question. I drove by there today and I saw the for sale sign, and I also saw the coming soon sign. So I don't know. We can talk with John McHenry and ask. He's not here, but I would assume that they're still planning on building. I haven't seen any changes to that. The special land use permit was approved, so that should be coming. Matt, do you know anything else on that?
No, I know we didn't vote for it, but the point is that it was approved, and there was some discussion by Arby's corporate on whether they would actually build it. But the first part, there was going to be a building with like 4 little side businesses there. Like when you look at where AT&T is across the street across from Chick-fil-A, where you have, you got a lot of business, the Chipotle is there, and AT&T and a couple others. And I think that's what they were planning to do right there on the corner of Lynburn and Lawrenceville Highway. And I think that's still go.
Okay, the next two have to do with parks. The first one is, why did we pour the slab for the pavilion in John's Homestead Park right smack in the middle of the trail? And has there been an ecological impact assessment done for the rare endangered species there? Well, I can answer that one. We had it on our master plan for John's Homestead, and that's where the best place was to put the parking lot, because as of, I don't know, I guess it's still not done yet, so you still can't park there. And then I did not know we had any endangered species in John's Homestead. I know that they go out and they look the Parks and Rec people go out and they look to make sure that everything's fine before that's done. So I don't know of anything else that needed to be done on that, because I don't think we have any endangered species in the area. Matt, are you aware?
No, but there will be an ongoing study, and the John's Homestead is a historical site that we really want to make sure we improve, and also to guard the nature activities there. And so, the park people and the city will be working together with all Georgia Department of Natural Resources and others to make sure we cover all aspects of this.
Okay, and then the next question I have has to do about the master plan meeting. So when let me read the question. Many of the attendees of the park master plan meetings were told that it was only a template and the community would have say, or at least to be aware, or was it implemented? When the parking lot and gazebo being installed, it seems they were not being heard. So we have multiple parks plans. All right, the plan is an overall plan. If there is a parking lot, there's usually only one place we can put a parking lot, especially in John's Homestead, because there's no access to the other part or neighborhoods. So we'll say Montreal Park. So the Parks Department will meet with the community and go out and have a community meeting. For the gazebos, it was part of I guess it's a pavilion. So the pavilion that were out there were part of the plan. And again, it was the only place to put them. So John's Homestead is a pass-through park. So meaning that you can go out and hike with your family and walk around and look at things and then go have a seat under a pavilion if you want to have lunch. So it's not like there's a lot of infrastructure being put into that park. I hope that answers that question. Matt, do you have anything on that one for John?
No, that's good. That's good.
Hold on, I got to click the done on that one.
I think we need to move on to the big question of the day now.
Okay, well, I just want to make sure that I got everything else on here, that if anybody asked a question, I don't want to feel like they were missed. There was one question on the LGBTQ ordinance. That is something that a few of us are working on the council are working on currently. The Supreme Court passed the Supreme Court ordered on the last, and I'm trying to think of the correct verbiage here, but anyway, that stated that they were protected under the civil liberties. So that's stuff that we're looking at right now, and we're waiting for some direction to come back from that.
Yeah, the Supreme Court dealt with Title VII, so that was the employment activity protection, which is important. But again, there are a lot of other activities, as people know, dealing with accommodations, public service, and what we're looking at is trying to determine how we're going to best move that. So we have been studying it, and I know the frustration on some that we haven't studied it and moved on it quickly, but we are trying to move as judiciously as we can and protecting all people.
Okay, so we're going to move on. If I missed anyone, because I'm going back and forth from the chat to the Q&A, please send me a new message, because you might be buried back in there somewhere. So we're going to move along to City of Tucker, Public Works, does it work? So this is the opening discussion that we're going to have with the community that says, we're asking you the question, where are we at right now? So you need some information from us. You need some information of what we're paying right now into the county and what we're getting out of the county. And then we as a community, and Matt and I as we'll just call us your speakers for you, will let us know how you want to move forward. So the first slide, there's a lot of questions of where is all this money coming from and why am I paying so many taxes for everything? So it's if everybody has their annual assessment, annual notice of assessment. If you own a house in the city of Tucker or a business, you're going to get one of these. And on the bottom is going to tell you what all this stuff's all about. So Public Works is under the UNIC tax district. Within this, we believe that there's some additional police services that may be in there as well.
And the UNIC is unincorporated. So
unincorporated tax district. So right now we have a service agreement with DeKalb County under an IGA that says, here are the services that we have as a city that we would like you to take over. So that would be roads and drainage, it would be Public Works, it would be police, It would be stormwater, it'd be sanitation, and all of the other services other than the Capital 3 that we took over. So this is my property tax statement. All right. So I am paying $95.11 for roads, which really is not that much. I think I pay more for Netflix. So if you're wondering how much money you're paying, I want you to look at your information, and it's $95.11 for whatever my house they're saying ridiculously is over market. So I want you to look at that, do a little bit of homework, see what you're paying, ask your neighbors. You can look it up online if you want. So that's the first thing I want you to realize is really, right now, we are not paying that much money to DeKalb County for the services that we're getting. Although we pay them $2.25 million, okay, as total. So that's residential, that's businesses, that's everybody who pays taxes. So that's road repair, maintenance, improvements. Their budget for 2020 is $2.25 million. So that also includes stormwater maintenance. And we all know that we are having problems with stormwater here in the city of Tucker. So our existing level of service in 3 months, we have 114 days average to complete an asphalt patching. So if there's a big honking hole out there and they need to come dig it up, it's 114 days before they could get to it. And it's not because they're bad at what they do, they just have a huge area to serve. 2 months, 74 days to complete potholes. 1 month, 49 days on average to address trees and vegetation that are growing in on the side of the road. 1 month or 49 days average to address traffic signals. So if there's a sign issue or there's something going on, it's a month to 49 days. 2 days to address traffic signals if it's an emergency, if there's one out. 130 days, city work orders outstanding. So 130 outstanding work orders. And they have 4,000 backlog of work orders. Our engineers this is part of their presentation that they gave us, so that tweaking or revising the international government agreement unlikely to impact the level of service, because we're a little city and they're a larger county and they have a lot of stuff to be working on. So some of the community concerns that we've heard is that the streets and sidewalk conditions are most visible service to citizens, which is true, right? Because if you're driving down the road, you're going to notice a pothole, or you're going to notice that the sidewalk is broken up. So unfavorable impression or poor lack of response reflects on the city. So if you're driving through the city, you're like, wow, I feel like I'm in a third world country. I think I've heard that a couple of times. Matt is laughing. Public right-of-way unaddressed. So I don't know if y'all know what the public right-of-way is. That's that stretch of land that's from the roadway to probably about where the telephone pole is. So some areas, the grass just grows really, really tall, and no one takes care of that. Well, I wouldn't say no one. I'm going to retract that statement and say that DeKalb Beautiful comes by about once a year and mows it, because I saw them last time they were out here. Negative impacts on the area, status of stormwater facilities, increasing urgency, 2 sinkholes, one we just finally remediated, and more likely to fail. Our infrastructure right now I think was put in like the 50s, at least some of the older streets that we have. And then addressing the status of the city's dams. So this one's a big one, because right now we have multiple dams. Let's see if that's on the next. We have multiple dams. We have Lake Erin, Twin Brothers Lake, and Kelly Kofor. So each of these dams has vegetation growing on there. There's weak spots. We already know that there's the side on Twin Brothers Lake. There's that side kind of ditch or runoff area, and then we've got the beavers that go out there. And there's a lot of things that could go wrong with those dams. So we have 75 publicly maintained detention and retention ponds. So those are publicly maintained. So we just have to make sure that those are inspected and ready to go. Category 1 dams require additional level of service. They require a quarterly inspection. They need to have an engineer come out and sign off on it. And they need to have like a work order corrective measures put together for that. This is what we have in our infrastructure. So this is what the city has within its boundaries. We have 528 city streets. 165 local centerline miles. That includes like Mountain Industrial, Huell Howe, 78. 70 traffic signals, 20 school flashers, 20 flashing beacons, 55 miles of sidewalk, and Transportation Master Plan has identified 34 million in additional sidewalk needs. I'll say that again, 34 million in additional sidewalk needs, 26 bridges, 7,809 street signs, quite a few. And I know that at least the one at the end of Shady Lane, you have a hard time telling it's a street sign. And some of the conditions are fair to partly cloudy, we'll put it there. We had Stantec who did our road study to let us know what our roads needs were, give us an update on what we had, and that's why we know how many street signs we have, but we don't know exactly which one needs to be done. So we'd have to do a study on that. So other regional cities, just for their budgetary needs, this is what staff provided us. Milton has a $2.8 million budget for public works. Chamblee is 2.3, Dunwoody is 2.7, and Doraville is 1.3 million. Just for giggles, I pulled up Brookhaven. So if you had this nice little house here, unincorporated, they're paying 100, that's the third line, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, $138 a year. So that's just not enough. In my opinion, I don't think that's enough. So the level of service, DeKalb County is at 1.099 mils. That equates to $2.25 million for the city of Tucker. We need to determine a level of service, right? So what does the community want? Do we want to stay right where we're at and stay with DeKalb and, just kind of see what happens? Because if we do that, all the money that Tucker collects or our tax base collects goes into the greater DeKalb area. So if there's a problem in another unincorporated area, which they service, that money goes to that area instead of just inside of Tucker. The majority of paving that you have seen has come from our SPLOST programs that we've managed and made sure that all that money gets spent here in the city of Tucker. The community needs to decide, what is the millage rate if they want a hike in their millage rate. Mine was what, $97? I can't remember. It was cheap. If they want a millage rate that's a little bit higher to pay into that, where do you want us to go? Do you want us to look at something that we're going to have better streets? Are we going to have more sidewalks? I know that every time I talk to someone, they say we have sidewalk needs here. We need a road study here. We need traffic signals here. So if we're going to even consider taking on this service, we need to decide as a community, at what level do we want to go in? Do we want to make sure that we're addressing the community's needs? Or do we just kind of want to, take on what they're doing now and see how it goes? I don't think that's the best plan. I think the best plan is talk to the community, find out what everybody wants to do. If it's important to them, if they want to pay an additional millage rate, then that's what it should look like if it comes through on the referendum. It was something that I said during the initial conversation. I said, if we're going to do this, we have to know exactly what our level service is going to be and what that millage rate is going to be. And it's got to be written plainly so people can read that. But we need to know what you guys want to do on that. And I think I've got one more slide here. Yep. So this is just public decision on movement. What do you want us to do? Things we're talking about right now, and then we're going to you'll let your council members know. You let Matt and I know, or if you're coming in from another district, you let your council member know on, do you want us to vote for a referendum? And how do you want us to vote for that? Then we need to finalize the desired level of service and millage rate, right? And then we're going to hold additional public meetings to solicit input and provide education, because at the beginning of this, I'm sure you didn't know where that public money came from that you're being taxed for. And then it's going to take us, if we vote in favor and we put it on the referendum in November, it'll take us 180 days to transition that. So it's not a quick turnaround. It's something that really needs to be thought out. It needs to be decided, because it's not just for this generation or this year. It's something that we're going to do as a city going here on out. So we need to understand and decide how we're going to pull that. And I think it's really important that everybody looks to see what they're paying now and decides from there. Matt, do you have any closing statements?
Yeah, you know,
Take
one of the concerns we have received from some people is the fact that, you know, I don't want to pay additional taxes to Tucker for stuff that the county is doing, will do. Well, the point is, what we're saying is, if we would take over the public works aspect of it, that would be payments made to Tucker. The county would not be part of that. So the idea is, we're not going to double tax ourselves. There'll be a single tax increase or whatever that we can do for the services. Now, the other thing, one more thing is, you know, we had last year an increase. We did an action that dealt with the millage rate for Tucker, and we did it for parks. The county was proposing 0.14. We said, no, we'll go 0.9. So we implemented some activity, a tax to Tucker for parks that basically ended up being a decrease of money that you and I were paying out for residents. So there's a lot of activity going to be heard over the next number of months. And the reason, as I say, it came out the other day and we had to meet and make a decision by, I think it was July 6th, that we would publish it, and we would be saying that down the road in the November election, there will be a referendum, if we go that way, to have the city of Tucker be responsible for the Department of Public Works. And we will have a number of meetings over the next months to discuss this and hear all the input that we can get.
Yeah, so $2.4 million, just so you know, does not go a long way. We generally spend about 3.4, 3.5 million just on SPLOST resurfacing throughout the year, and our sidewalk projects and things like that. One thing that you should think about and consider is that we do have the dams portion on that. We have the stormwater portion on that. If we do have an emergency, we'd have to initiate a bonds obligation towards the city and towards those future taxes. So that's something that you need to think about. So if you were to say, yeah, you know, I'd be willing to, you know, put a percentage to that, maybe to here, but no further than that, then we would have to really look at it to say how far and at what point can we put that stop gate on it. But these are, like I said, these are all things I want you to think about. If you guys have any questions, we'll take those now on this portion.
Well, you know, Noel, we're running out. The nice part about doing a virtual meeting is that we don't have to skip out of the church because it's going to be locked out or whatever. We can stay here forever in our slippers. But you know, anyway, I'm just teasing. But
Yeah,
there are a number of things that we still need to talk about.
Yeah, there was a question earlier when the commissioners were on, asking how it would affect DeKalb County as far as if it would affect them and if there was a study. There has not been a study on it to see if we are going to, if we're taking it over, we're going to take that millage from them, but it's 2.4 million out of their entire budget. You can see their budget at DeKalb.ga.gov, I think it is, and their 2020 budget. You could see those numbers. So I don't think it would hit it as much as, like, say, the police department.
Right.
If there's any questions. I'm not seeing any questions.
Okay, we're going to move on to some other.
Hold on.
Whoop.
See one here. Do you have an update approximately when the biking walking trail paralleling Islewood Road connecting downtown Tucker to Ponce Path to Stone Mountain Park would be possible to be built? So we have three phases, almost from memory. We have 3 phases. The first one is going to be right behind Main Street. We're going to finish that one. And then there's a portion of that we haven't voted on yet, whether it's going to go towards Kelly Kofer or if it's going to go towards Idawood. So that's phase 2. This will most likely require more SPLOST funding. So if SPLOST comes up around again for vote, I would say vote for it if you want these things to continue to happen. If SPLOST goes away, we're going to have the shortest trail ever.
The SPLOST taxes, the majority of that is for streets. That there is a portion for parks and transportation. So we are looking at it, but we got to do this model mile first, or that the model sidewalk down Railroad and down Main Street, etc.
All right, we have another question. It is, DeKalb County has been dealing with the pandemic. Now might be the best time to try to leave DeKalb County services. Usually DeKalb County services are efficient if you call the right office, also for street signs and other services. So it would be, if we decided that we were going to move ahead and the community, we had the community input and buy-in to do that, it would be November before it would be voted on, and then it would be 180 days after that. So I'm really, really hoping that this pandemic is over by then. DeKalb County is doing a pretty good job during the pandemic to keep their employees safe, and I appreciate all that they do. I appreciate every time they pick up my trash, especially when they pick up my recycling. So this isn't a, DeKalb County is doing a bad thing. This is DeKalb County is a big county. We have a great relationship with them. We want to continue to have a great relationship with them, but we also want to provide a different kind of service for the city of Tucker, because we keep hearing the question of, hey, when's the street going to get fixed? Or, hey, when are we going to get some sidewalks over here? Or what's going on with this infrastructure? So we have to be accountable to our community, and it's a friendly handshake. It's not anything other than that. Are there any other questions? Somebody says, how many chickens are allowed at one's home in Tucker? Normally I know that question. I'm the chicken person. I'll look at it. If you will send me an email and I'll get you the exact amount. You cannot have roosters unless you had a rooster before it was passed that you can't have roosters. Then you'd have a grandfathered rooster. It gets very difficult. But then your rooster can get in trouble for crowing. So then he'd be in violation of the noise ordinance. So anyway, send me a note and I'll tell you exactly what, who, where, wow, and hi. They have to be a certain portion off of from your property line and whatnot. But do you have let me give you my email address. And if you don't mind sending it there. Is there any other questions before we move on? And going once, going twice. So and going 3 times. We're not going to keep you all night. If you guys have questions on this, we're available. We're not going to come meet you because we're in the middle of a pandemic, but we'll talk to you on Zoom. We'll have really fancy offices like this pretend office I have in the background. But we can meet whenever you want and talk about it. So whatever questions you have, or if you have things that, requires, more attention than just us, we can move that to wherever that needs to go. So we'll move right along. City Hall's moved. We're no longer in the temporary tent, as I used to call it, off Adrian Street. We have outgrown our location. Our city manager, Tammy Hanlon, has done a great job of trying to get everybody moved over there. So we're all in the same spot. We're now at Lakeside Center, so we're still pretty close. 1975. We're not open over there yet. We're still trying to get all of our COVID-19 things. Somebody said status of old B. I don't know, old B. Old building? I don't know. It's gonna have to ask me that one again.
For Adrian, if we left, we finished the contract. We're done with Adrian.
There's a rental.
Yeah, we continue to have people over at the rec center. The recreation and parks people will be there. We will continue to do city business at the annex on First Avenue, and the city council will meet there.
Right.
And the other boards that the city has presently, but down the road we'll move on over to Lakeside Parkway, 1975.
So this is another temporary location because one day we're going to actually have a home of our own that we can buy the land around, wherever that's going to be. There's some questions popping up on where. There's some questions popping up on where we're going to do that. We don't really know. We have some ideas of kind of where we want to go, but that's all done in executive session because we don't want to tell anybody, hey, we're going to try to go here and then have them, make the price so high that we can't afford it. So you're not allowed to talk about that outside, but we are looking for a permanent location. The reason we chose Lakeside Center is because we could grow into it within the next 7 to 10 years, and that we would still have the ability to take out a loan to build a permanent site, which is something that we want to do because it costs less to have a permanent site. So I think I've answered that one. Sorry, this takes me a second. Here's a question. What day and time is code enforcement court and where?
It's on the second, code enforcement is the third Wednesday of the month. It's at the annex. They are presently following all restrictions in coming to the court. And they will start at 10 in the morning, and they will have an afternoon session as well. The fourth Wednesday of the month, they do offenses court, like being in the park after hours, public intoxication, etc. So there are two days presently that we are active in the court. As we determine to take over traffic court, that will be extended, and the judges know that we will be ready for that as well. And that'll be probably September or October.
And then I had one more question on public hearings. Public hearings will continue to be at the annex, so right off of Main Street. The next question I have is, any chance of getting fines for littering? Tired of picking up old masks and gloves. I think we have a fine for littering, but we'll look into that on that one. I think that's one of those pandemic issues. So, and on private property, if you're at whatever shopping center and there's that kind of stuff going on, you can contact code enforcement and they can come out and do that. I had one more pop-up question. Does offenses court include animal control issues? No. DeKalb County has animal control. Side of the road. So if there's stuff on the side of the road, that would probably be in the public right of way, or if it's on personal property, let us look into that. And if so, whoever that is, if you could just send me an email, I will send you my email address. Please send me an email, and that way I make sure that goes through. Do that right now. Any more questions on that? Okay, so we're going to move along.
One of the things we wanted to mention to you is that the city and the police precincts have been very, very positive working with the brand new city, because we had, we'll say, the LA fitness precinct down there at Central, and then the Walmart precinct over here on Lawrenceville Highway. And then what we did after the year one, working with the chief of police for the city, for the county, is come up with a designation that we would have Tucker Precinct be responsible for all activities with public safety activities within the boundaries of Tucker and beyond. They go much further than that. But then the Central Precinct would not be responding to Tucker unless they were needed. So one of the things we wanted to do, as I say, when we had the relationship with the chief of police, who then retired and then took another job, and then we have a good relationship with the director of public safety, and also Major Medlin over at the Tucker Precinct. And we wanted to show you a couple pictures of people that do work with us in the city. So we'll just go down there. Sergeant Coachman was Coffee with a Cop is really good. We do that. We don't do it. The precinct does it in various and sundry places, and they announce it early on, usually a Wednesday morning. It's probably from 7 to 10 in various and sundry places. And it's just a great opportunity to talk to people there. And next one, we have Officer Brooks doing some playing, and an officer sample being taken down by the kids. So that's great. We have at the time, it was the 30th anniversary day, and for Chick-fil-A, Officer Jackson and Officer Sample were there working, talking to people. And it's, as I say, the overall aspect is really good. Sergeant Maxwell, another coffee with a cop, and a coffee with the little dog, I guess, a little bit. Officer Adams working with the community. I think this was at Midvale, one time where they were talking about parents and grandparents, and I was honorary Monfordini for that particular time. And Officer Woodbury, National Night Out. This is where a number of the Homeowners Association meet, and they have a number of policemen come there. And then we also have a bigger program at either a school. And what we're going to do this year, it's probably going to be in October. Stay loose on that time frame, but it'll be at Midvale. And again, the police will be there, and it's just a very relaxed time for people to talk about issues that are tense and issues that need to be addressed. Here you go with Tucker Middle, Red Ribbon Week. We officers Warney, Groin, Buchanan, and Maxwell there. We have Officer Warney. This is interesting. The police at Christmas time, holiday time, take a number of children and bring them to Walmart and basically spend a lot of money on the kids, and that's really a positive thing. Officer Goins here on an interview with the students, and you can see some of the heavy equipment behind them. That was one of the reasons we were talking about an IGA with the county as opposed to setting up our own police force. You would have to come up with a pretty significant budget to get some heavy duty equipment and heavy duty people to deal with aspects of very significant emergencies in Tucker, were we to have our own. But we just called DeKalb and worked with them. Officer Kraft here reading into schools. Officer O'Brien with Read Across America. And again, the key thing, the police in Tucker have been very good working with us. We have a liaison. Oh, the officer, there's another one with Sergeant Parker was the one above it. Officer Dilemma dealing with the Hispanic station there. And then we have this liaison with Lieutenant Sheffner talking to us. He meets with the county, and he meets with the city council every 2 weeks to go over crime statistics. Here's what they're looking at: homicide, aggravated assault, robbery, pedestrian robbery, business, robbery, residential, rape or attempted rape, burglary, residential, burglary, business, auto theft, entering autos. We look at the statistics for the 2 weeks that we're meeting initially. Then we look back a year, what has happened, and we look overall, and then we compare Tucker precinct with the other precincts in DeKalb, and we have discussions on that. And if there are issues that we need to have addressed to the Director of Public Safety or Chief Medlin, Major Medlin, we will be talking about that. We did have we'll go here about an incident where, protecting yourself is very important. And this happened, what happened, kind of interesting. My cars were entered into almost the same night, I guess, that Council Monfordini's cars were as well.
District 2.
They were hitting District 2 even though they weren't. But she'll tell you about the ring and other video to assist the police.
So I did not know that Matt was mostly part of District 2 was taken out that night by some people who are going through cars and ransacking stuff. I have a ring on the outside of my house. I have a little doorbell ring, this one here, and then I have the big one that looks over my cars, which is nice because it gives me 2 different views. So I took that video and I sent it over to Shopner, and he sent it over to his team, and somebody else had a video, and they arrested the guy a couple days later because he had the same pants on. So if you're tired of people breaking into your cars and stuff like that, and you want to, because they come in and they're swift and they're, you know, after just whatever they can grab and smash and grab. So if you want to get them, my suggestion to you is, of course, always call the police when that happens, but install a ring. Or install one of these other devices that you can, you know, send video or whatever happened to the police department to help them, because it's like having somebody watching out for all your stuff. The ring will also alert you if somebody's in your driveway, if there's motion detected. Sometimes it could be annoying. My neighbor's cat goes and wakes me up at midnight every night. But at least I know that it's working. So if I know that there's some areas in Montreal Woods that gets visited frequently, I hope that you guys are still making police reports, but you know, try to send on any video that you have to the officers when you make the report. That's important. The other thing that I don't have on here that I want to talk about is that we've got a lot of racers going around, people speeding on 78 or having races. I live right off of Lawrenceville Highway, kind of behind Sherry, so I hear everything. And they told me just dial the 911 number and let them know. So, and they said the more we let them know, the more they can send people out here. So if you hear it and you have an idea where they're going to be, please call 911 and let them know. We have one question here. Did the police actually solve any of the vandalism crimes? Yes, they did. And then I get notes from them because they're going into court, and they will ask you questions because you're part of the victims group of how do you want us, you know, how the prosecutors want to know how you want them handled, or, you know, do you want to, you know, ask the judge for leniency or whatever. So, but yes, so it absolutely helped. It helped get them off of the street. This particular group was a group, and you could watch on Ring, which is really interesting. If you subscribe to it, I pay like $3 a month or something. It's very inexpensive, but people in your neighborhood can post something that says, hey, somebody was just, you know, my ring went off, somebody was in my car, they post it, they call the police, that's posted online, it comes up on your Ring, you can see it, and you can see a whole bunch of people, and you can see these same guys running around everywhere. So they were captured multiple times at multiple different angles, some better than others, of what they were wearing and what they looked like. So yeah, it absolutely did help. One other question was, we need to have an appreciation day for our wonderful officers. Yes, we do. So we usually get the opportunity to do coffee with a cop or some of the other events, but because of the pandemic, we can't do that. So if you want to make their day, send them a card.
That's a good
Wave at
idea.
them, tell them hello. I mean, right now they're just absolutely getting pummeled, and they're some of the best officers. Our Tucker officers are really fantastic. They reach out, they're with the community, they care, and like I said, if you want to do something while we're in the pandemic, send them a card. Wave out the window, just say hi. Does anybody have any questions, more questions on that? I'm gonna make sure I have all these. Let's see. What is Tucker Precinct doing about the frequency break-ins of homes and cars occurring in our neighborhoods? They are really bold crooks. Yes, they are really bold crooks. Because they just keep coming around, and then the next group comes around. I don't know where they come from, but call 911 if you have the ability to get a Ring or some other, like I said, some other recording device that you can help the police officers out because they can't be everywhere. It gives them leads, and that way they can solve the crime. All right.
We're gonna play that thing. I'm gonna. This is the In Tucker magazine. It's a monthly magazine. Please subscribe to it. It's really good. They went over parks issues. They went over the storm, the dealing with Corona. They did a construction, dealing with paving and construction in town. And this one is the July issue, and it's talking about the census. Please, we need to be able to be counted. The census is a mandatory thing, and I'll let this play first.
Can one girl in a small town, an architect in a major city, and a suburban high school coach shape the future of the United States? Yes, they can. Because every 10 years, the census gives us that power. You can shape your future by responding to the 2020 census. Where do we need new roads to make our lives easier? Where will new school programs help our children thrive? Where could a new health clinic benefit neighborhoods? The 2020 census will inform these decisions and shape how billions of dollars will be distributed to communities like each year. And in 2020, you can respond to the census online, by phone, or by mail. It's easy, safe, and important. Make sure you and everyone you know is counted. Now is the time for you to get involved. Your community needs you. Together, we can educate and excite, inspire, and make sure every voice is heard. Together, we can shape our future.
The census has been interesting because of the fact that in early March, they came out with letters to everybody, and they gave you an account number, and you could either, as is told, you could do it on email, or you could do it by phone, or you could do it by the regular old form. And we set up a complete count committee, including kids from the high school and others from organizations that serve minority citizens, etc. And again, minority residents. It doesn't have. You do not have to be a citizen to register to be counted in the census. Right now, Georgia is like at 56%. We're like 33rd in response time. Nationwide, I think it's at 61. Tucker is at 65. There are important things that are going to happen. This is done every 10 years. It started in 1789, and now every 10 years. So this is I didn't realize this is my 9th census. I want to get to 10, right? And the bottom line comes in is, where do we need more schools, better roads, health departments, etc. These are the things that are going to be counted on from 2021 through 2030. So the idea is, the more people that we get counted, the better we are being eligible as a city for bigger grants, bigger contracts, etc., and assistance, technical assistance from technology assistance from the feds. And I think, as we've seen firsthand with the impact internationally and nationally and statewide and locally, there is a lot of need that has to be addressed by us and by the federal government, working in partnership with the state, and the state working in partnership with the county, and the county working in partnership with the cities, that can be met through the census. So please encourage people in the neighborhood, just get the thing done. I don't know, it's got to be sitting around somewhere under a lot of dust if it's been from March on, but we need this going. What they've extended the time frame. It was originally going to the drop dead date would have been August for the statistics, and now they've made it all the way up to October, the end of October. What will happen then is the Census Bureau will take all the statistics, again, confidential statistics, put them together, provide this information to Congress, and then Congress through the Census Bureau to the president. And this will then guide us from 2021 through 2030. So again, your young kids will be, 11 or 15 or 19. Some of us 80-year-olds will be 90 by that time, the next go round. Bottom line is, we need to be counted. So that's why I put that out there. Okay, next, Noel.
One important thing to know about the census is this is what's going to tell the federal government how much emergency money we need too, like the CARES Act and the other things that are coming through right now. They're using the data from the last census. So if it's incomplete, if there's a household, they're going to say, well, there's 2 people in that household. or something close to that. It says, what if the paper is lost is one of the questions, Matt.
Call the Census Bureau, and I don't have the number, but I'll get it for you. I think I posted it about 27 times on media, but we will continue to get that information out. Call them or census 2020 census.gov, and that'll get you.
You can just type in Google if you have access to the internet, and you can just type in 2020.
What we were trying to do also to assist people is we were going to have dedicated computers at the rec center, and the libraries. We're going to have dedicated computer systems for the census as well. Well, not at this time.
Yeah, you can actually fill out the census on your smartphone. So if you have a smartphone, you can do that. You can call in, and I believe that they can help you online do that as well.
And it's the information doesn't seem that humongously personal, what's your name, how many people live here, etc. So it's really not, it doesn't go, where'd you go to school, what's your credit card number, how many bank accounts you got, etc.
Asking you that, don't answer.
Yeah, do not answer. They are not allowed to do that. And the information is confidential, and it's confidential up to 75 years. So there'll be a lot of census activities, a number of census activities in that time. Let's see, what do we got here? Other dates that we need to pay attention to, as Michelle pointed out, and others, that we have a runoff election to face in August. We want to make sure that Tucker residents vote for those that are impacting us. The sheriff is going to be in a runoff. Melody Maddox is presently acting, and Ruth Stinger is against her. DeKalb Commission 1, Robert Patrick and Cynthia Yaxon. Commission 6 to take the person who retired, Miriam Ahmad and Ted Terry, and then House District 86, as Michelle was telling, Michelle Henson and Zuma Lopez. So there's a lot of activity, and this will only, this is to get the person who then will face the opposition for the November election. And as we all know, the November election is the 3rd of November, and that's important. The other thing, another date that I want to throw out here, is the World Health Organization has established a number of activities to determine that a community will be called an age-friendly community. And do not think that it has to do with people my age. It has, age-friendly is from cradle to grave type of thing. And so Tucker was one of these cities that was acknowledged by the World Health Organization as an age-friendly community. That's the acknowledgement. And what we need to do is provide them with a plan, and there are what they call domains that are need to be showing the World Health Organization what we do, and it's in outdoor spaces and buildings and transportation, social inclusion, housing, communications, civic participation, community support and health services, and social participation. So there are various and sundry things that we are to write up and submit a plan by December that will go to the World Health Organization, and we will then be formally acknowledged as an age-friendly community for 5 years. And what has been interesting, thanks to Dr. Lois Ritchie and a number of people on the Lifelong Community Involvement Subcommittee of the Tucker Civic Association, we have had a number of meetings to discuss this, and we have a number of committees to meet these 8 domains. Tucker has done a lot prior to becoming Tucker officially, and since Tucker has been the city, we have done a lot of things, and what we're doing and placing our responsibilities here and activities is providing information to to the World Health Organization. So you'll be hearing a lot of this before we send it up in December, and we will get that information to everybody. But pay attention to that, because it's a pretty good deal. Macon was the first one in Georgia. There aren't many in the South, and so it doesn't necessarily get us a significant. It doesn't get us any money, but it gives us an acknowledgement through various and sundry organizations that we are age friendly, and we are taking actions to involve youth, involve seniors, and involve us mature people. So that's that one. What do you got next, Noel?
We're into the Q&A. So
There you go.
whatever questions you guys got, it's 9 o'clock on the nose. We will answer questions until 9:05 unless we get no questions. But I'd be sad if we got no questions.
Well, while we're doing that, one of the things that Tucker has done, so we have maintained our business schedule using staff while being separated. And we have had people who want to become part of Tucker. And so we've had an annexation that we approved just recently, and it's off of Chamblee Tucker, Hunter Lee area. And so there are, I think there are 34 houses there, and that was approved through a 60% method, the people wanting to become part of us. So now the Tucker boundaries that just went to Livesey now go a little further out on Chamblee Tucker. So we do not, as some cities do, we do not reach out and state our grabbing aspect. We want to, we are asking people who want to be part of Tucker to come to us and ask that, and do it in the proper context. Any questions we got?
One question. How do we get info on the age-friendly community work draft in?
We will provide, get a hold of me or Dr. Ritchie, and we'll provide that information to you. I want to thank some people before we still may have a question, but while we're downtime, I want to thank people in District 2 who have been really active on formal committees that we had in Tucker: Thomas Lupo, Jenny Emmerich, Janet Curtis, Jan Mixon, Kara Schroeder. They were active on the community council. We've done some shifting on how we can improve the responsibility of the developers to really actively engage the community. So that's important. Joe Kilpatrick and Damian Claire Presley are on the Downtown Development Authority. Derek Webb involved with the looking at the charter review. Catherine Atterbury is the lead on the planning council. We've had people on the Friends of the Park active all over the place. Keith Easterling active on zoning aspects as well. So there's a lot of people that we really want to thank as well, and the local people. Joseph Blackwell tonight for keeping us safe, getting through this virtual activity. Ken Hildebrand and Sam Durance, who do the city engineering, they give a lot of information to us. Jennifer Downer is our community contact with the county. If you have a problem relative to something that could be a county issue, come through us, because we can then be advocates for you. And Jennifer Downer's number is 678-597-9040. Rip Robertson with the parks gave us information relative to the parks. Tony Joe Howard regarding the budget, as I mentioned, a $23 million budget. When we started out, we borrowed $1,000. Matt Holmes, who is the communications person with the In Tucker magazine, and also is the contract manager for Jacobs. John McHenry, who is doing economic development. Courtney Smith, who is doing also business development, etc., all under the watchful eyes of Tammy Hanlon, the city manager. So we in District 2 thank them very much, and we really look forward to having these more often as we can. And we have all these great signs that Noel and I purchased that talk about community engagement meeting, you know, in Rehoboth Tuesday night or whatever. We look forward to having those. But right now, I want to thank everybody, and I'll turn it over to Noel.
So we had a question come up, was how do we hear about these meetings in the future? So I have a distribution list of people who said, send me emails. So I send you emails. So if you would send me your contact information, your email address to nmonfordini@tuckerga.gov. I put that in the chat box. You can also see it on Facebook. I smother it all over Facebook. I have no other way to find people.
Yeah. And we have a number of homeowners association. We send that information to them, and they pass it out, I hope. And then we also have like over on this side of town, the Idlewood Community Action Team icon, a coalition of neighborhoods. We get that information out through them. So the bottom line comes in is we have tried to be as information sharing as we can, because we don't have a particular time frame, but it's usually every quarter. And as I say, we've had 3 of these since December, and we will have something. You know, we'll probably wait until the election and provide some information. But you will be hearing from us because of the Public Works discussion. And don't forget, the council meets the 2nd and the 4th Mondays of the month from 7 to 9, 7 to whatever. And we would love to have you there, either now through Zoom or later on in person.
So we are going to have a few more meetings probably after this one, just because of Public Works. There's going to be hopefully some questions from these, from this meeting, and what we talk about in the future. Matt and I will try to get information out to everybody when we see it. I have one more question that says, and I don't know the answer to it, but I'm going to read it. Does the U.S. withholding from WHO today affect age-friendly communities designation?
No, that's the World Health Organization. It has a number of aspects within it. I think the president made a decision relative to funding overall, and I guess if the funding overall is significant, but it's also the World Health Organization is being funded by a number of countries throughout the world. So age-friendly will continue in that regard.
Well, thank you everyone for meeting with us tonight and taking 2 hours and 7 minutes out of your schedule. We will follow up with whoever sent us emails to make sure all the information is sent out to everyone. Like I said, make sure to get a hold of us. Matt has one more thing, and I want you guys to be safe out there. Numbers aren't looking great, so make sure you wear a mask, wash your hands, follow all the guidance from the CDC. We'll post this meeting so that way everybody can watch it again later. And on to you, Matt. Thank you.
Yeah, this came in the mail, and it has to do with Red Cross. The Red Cross still needs blood for obvious reasons. Tucker First United Methodist this Sunday, July 12th from 8 to 1. First Christian of Atlanta, Monday, July 20th, 2:30 to 7:30. And then, of course, the rest of them you can go downtown or check in Lilburn. Lilburn has something on the 17th at Harmony Grove United Methodist Church. Bottom line is, blood donations are very important, and they are safe. They are done safely, and we commend that to you as well. Thank you very much. We really enjoyed this.
Good night.